Hello, Gamaki, and welcome back to another Comic-Con segment. Today I'm going to talk about an exclusive meeting we had with famed game director Warren Spector, who, of course, is famous for Deus Ex and Thief and a whole bunch of other games, but he's probably more familiar to Nintendo people for Epic Mickey, which was last year's kind of like breakout third-party game. Not very many games on the Wii that are, not dancing or party games are successful, but Epic Mickey really broke that trend, and I really enjoyed the game. Some people had a lot of issues with it, but it was interesting because we're walking around Comic-Con and we see, the Boom Studio, who does like really great comics on Darkwing Duck, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and I guess they had just started a whole a 4-issue miniseries with Warren Spector writing for DuckTales, and Warren Spector is, of course, a huge DuckTales fan. He's a big fan of the comics, actually, more than the cartoon. So he was fulfilling sort of a lifelong dream of actually getting to write a DuckTales comic, so that was actually pretty cool, but, they're also showing off, or selling, actually, early print runs of the Epic Mickey art book, which is beautiful, giant hardcover book, that all the art from pre-production and normal production of the game, a lot of those like really crazy, weird kind of like designs that you saw leak out earlier in there, and it's really cool to actually see, it's not totally forgotten, so that's cool that you can pick that up in September if you weren't at the show. So, but it was nice, to actually catch up with someone and not like have it to be like some like official press interview in a dark room or whatever. It was just very casual, nice to talk to him. While we both really obviously really loved the game, him for directing and me for playing, but I think we admitted like the game wasn't perfect, but no game really is. So. One thing Warren did kind of concede a little bit was that the genius of Nintendo, as he said, is how they can design a level around the camera, or they design, a level with the camera in mind, whereas maybe, Epic Mickey was more designed with, just the level in the game, like the other aspects of the gameplay in mind, which is totally fine, but you know what, him and I both agree, we can break the camera in any game. Like, no matter what. So, like, whether it be Mario Galaxy, at the top of the heap, or, like, any D-level platformer, any game's camera can be broken. So, I agree with, honestly, it was kind of a little overblown with some reviews and media outlets on that game. The camera's, it's not amazing, but it's not terrible either. It's basically, like, the upper end of the platformer eras. But one thing him and I do agree on is philosophy in open world or kind of giant world gameplay design, where something like Grand Theft Auto has what I call, it is like a sandbox, but it has like the same sort of impact as sandbox. In other words, in Grand Theft Auto, if you go and commit a crime, and then you blow something up, you kill someone, and then you run away and you go and you hide in a corner for a little bit. And after a while, like, the crime level or the badges or the stars or whatever the meter is, like, just goes away and your notoriety's gone. And then all of a sudden, the game world is back to completely as it was before you committed the crime. Like, there has been no impact left by you, the player, on that world. And so, to me, it's a lot like going to, a playground and you see a swing and you push the swing, and the swing all of a sudden then rocks back and forth due to, inertia and gravity and all that. And then eventually, the swing will eventually stop and get back to the neutral position it was before you got to that playground. It has the same impact. So what's something me and Warren really agree on is that when you have these big open worlds, you really should make these objects and goals and these, what you do in the world's meaningful, and it can change the world, and impact it, completely for the rest of the game, which, I think a lot of people overlook and don't, take for granted. It's that's one thing about Epic Mickey, was that you were kind of screwed if you how you finished a certain side mission was stuck. Like, for example, and when you met Pete for the first time, he asked you to go get a ship's log in the Gremlin village, and if you didn't do that, there was no way you were going to get that outcome of the game. Like the Pete and Mean Street would then distrust you completely. Like there was no way to kind of change the outcome of your first encounter with Pete. So that was actually really cool. Like it is a little bit, I know some players don't like the fact that you kind of get shoehorned or like locked into a certain kind of like save state or whatever, but at the same time it's hard to have meaning within a game world if what you do doesn't impact it in some way or another. So that was actually really cool to see. I did implore him about an Epic Mickey sequel for Wii U. He kind of smiled and said, it's very sarcastically, like, I'd never thought of that, a Wii U sequel. No, so I'm pretty sure it's come up at Junction Point Studios. I'm sure, they thought about it. But one thing Warren was very quick to point out is that everyone talks about, there's going to have great graphics on the system. The system's going to be so powerful. Warren was much, much more impressed with what kind of gameplay will come out of the new controller, because he says you're going to see whole types of new gameplays and like maybe even genres that we've never seen before with it. It's hard to not hope for that. So I do hope that does come to pass. One thing I can say this though, Warren is a true fan. He may be a director of a highly successful Mickey Mouse game, and he may actually work for the Disney company as a whole, but he is still truly a fan. He told me two great stories while making Epic Mickey. He talked to John Lasseter, and John Lasseter just wrote some a quick little whatever it was on a piece of paper, and he crumpled it up and threw it away, kind of thing. Like he was just a design document. And Warren would go into the trash and dig out whatever scrap he could, and it had the word just art written on it by John Lasseter. And it's John Lasseter, so he takes that paper that John Lasseter wrote and he keeps it. Because he's Warren, because he loves John Lasseter, he loves Pixar, he loves animation. And then another great story was how a Disney animator, he had demonstrated it to some of the old head animators at Disney, the game in development, and one of the animators came over to Warren, looked at him like straight in the face, without looking down, took a paper and pencil, and said, Mickey Mouse, when you draw him, you kind of got to draw him, he's got a little bounce to his step. You got to think a little bit, he's animated from head to toe. While looking straight at Warren, not looking down at the paper, he draws an entire body character of Mickey Mouse perfectly. And then he just crumples up the paper and throws it away. So Warren would then run over after he left, grab the paper out of the trash, and then frame it, and put it somewhere in his house. So this is a guy who loves what he does, and he still is a fan of animation and Mickey Mouse and Disney and all this, even after making a huge breakout hit, for the Wii with Epic Mickey. So that was really cool to see. He's exactly as he appears in interviews. Actually, like there's no kind of sort of fake interview face that he put on. Like he was exactly like he appeared in a lot of his interviews. Just really happy to be working in this industry. So he's definitely one of the cooler developers I've ever met. So that was a great experience to meet at Comic-Con. So check out the DuckTales miniseries, and if you haven't bought Epic Mickey, give it a whirl. You may like it, especially if you're into the more Banjo-Kazooie style platformers. It's really ace. So see you next time.